I would bet that some of you are wondering if I'd changed my mind about doing the sermon this morning. Leaving Jeremy all alone up here. I used to believe that anyone could be anything they wanted to be in life if they just tried hard enough. I now know that even if I began working full-time on my dribbling and free throws, that I would not ever make it to the NBA. It has become clear to me that we are born into circumstances that favor or disfavor certain outcomes, sometimes to the point of prevention. Basketball is not one of the gifts that I was born to bring into this world. I do not feel sad or hopeless because of this understanding. I actually feel realistic and informed, more able to be strategic about how I will spend my time and my attention. I used to believe that once I began my career teaching, that I would teach to retirement and possibly die at the chalkboard. I loved my job so much. At that time, I could not imagine my identity without also thinking of myself as a teacher. It was as though without the role, I would disappear. I used to believe that if I focused all of my attention on being really, really good, I could control the behavior of those I loved. It was magical thinking, really. It never actually worked, but man, I tried really hard for an awfully long time. I used to believe that if everyone had the opportunity to travel around the world and just meet all the people of different cultures, that war would simply come to an end. Meeting is not enough. And I used to believe that there was no room for me in religion, not in the pew, and definitely not in the pulpit. We have all changed our minds about simple and insignificant things, and we have changed our minds about significant decisions that shape how we understand our identity and how the world sees us. These twists and turns on our journey help us to discover who we are. Now, I asked around the church this morning what a few of you used to believe that you no longer believe to be true. Our intern minister, Jeremy Elliott, used to believe that homosexuality was an abomination of the Lord. He no longer believes that. That was better than the first service with some laughs, I think. My partner Jill used to believe that it was always best to go at it alone, and that tough was the same as strong. She has now changed her mind. Rick Fortner, our music director, used to believe that any problem in the world could be solved with enough willpower. He no longer believes that. Kate Starr, our youth director, used to believe that enthusiasm was always a positive quality and appropriate to bring to any table. She has told me that she is much clearer about her choice to bring enthusiasm to the table. She also used to believe that her partner and parents and friends were a direct reflection of her. And she used to believe that if you didn't try to control the outcome of a given situation, that the world would actually spin off of its axis. Some of our old beliefs seem so preposterous based on who we are today that it's difficult to identify with who we were when we held those beliefs. I think about some of the decisions I made 5 years ago, or 10. Or would you like to be held accountable for your decisions at 16? But everyone changes their mind, even God. In the Hebrew Bible, God is described as unchanging. In Malachi 3:6, it reads, "I am the Lord, I change not." And yet we, time and time again, see descriptions of God changing his mind with regards to the people. First and foremost, in Genesis, God warns us that we should not eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge, or we shall surely die. And then again, maybe we'll just be punished a little bit. In the story of Jonah and the whale, God is convinced not to punish the people for their evils by an eloquent preacher, when the people themselves have decided to give up their evil ways. Does God change if he can be persuaded? Does God change if she can grieve a decision that she has made? Does God change if God changes her mind? These stories that have influenced our culture for centuries suggest that God's character remains unchanging, even while changing his mind and behavior. These stories suggest that the nature of God can remain the same while his behavior changes. And what about us? What happens to our character? What do you believe happens to our nature when we change our mind? One belief that I have tested against many years and looked at side by side with war and atrocities, with prison and illness and death, is a belief that the nature of humanity is inherently good. This is the one belief that I feel serves as the foundation for what might be the rest of my house of cards. So if I have faith in the nature of humanity, that it's good, then our behavior does not change our worth or our value. But our character, however, is made up of the patterns of the way we relate and the way that we respond in a given situation. Have you ever changed your mind on something so fundamental that your world was completely flipped upside down? Have you ever changed your mind about something that caused you to completely change how you spend your time and who with? Maybe it was your belief about God that changed, or a decision to remove yourself from harm's way. Sometimes all of the pieces come together at precisely the right moment, and we see things that we've never seen before, even though they might have been right in front of us. And in this seeing face to face with reality in a new way, we cannot go back. Last week was Epiphany on the Christian calendar. Epiphany is about foreigners seeing Jesus face to face for the first time and recognizing that he is God. It is symbolized by the three kings' arrival in Bethlehem, bearing gifts for the infant Jesus. The holy day of Epiphany is also called Theophany, meaning the appearance of God to man, or a divine disclosure. So an epiphany in the Christian tradition is quite literally coming face to face with God. When we are struck by what might feel like divine disclosure, when we are struck by the epiphany of all the pieces fitting together as a whole, even if just for an instant, we are forever changed. Have you been there? Have you had an epiphany? When everything feels like it fits. In Matthew 15, Jesus has his own epiphany and does a complete 180-degree turn when he is shown by a pagan woman that his thinking is too small. Yes, even Jesus has his moments of limited insight and even discrimination. That is why I love the Jesus story so much. Jesus had put the Canaanite woman in a box, a very tiny box at that. She was not a child of Abraham, not polite, not customary, not following the rules.